Hey there, Scrappy friends. It's Shelly, and I am Scrappy Longstocking, and I am coming here today to go ahead and share my project life for April 6th through April 12th of 2025. I'm using the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit for April 2025 this week. It looks like I may have some photos in the project out of order, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. So these are pieces from the kit that I have set aside for this week. And then I have this part of my brochure from when I went to the Arkansas Orchestra. What is it? Arkansas Symphony Orchestra. And this is just the pieces I've pulled out of the booklet, the program booklet that they give you when you go. And then these photos are messed up. It looks like my ink dripped for some reason, but it didn't do it on the photos after that. I think it was because there was a bunch of dark colored photos, which is still weird, but I am going to go ahead. It looks like it started here, but I don't know as if I'm going to bother trying to reprint those. I might just go ahead and keep them. And yeah, so this is the 31st through the 6th. There's a couple of photos. Most of the photos are about the storm damage from last week, so I may go ahead and toss an insert in here to get them all in. I do have my plan set off to the side. And so I've got, it looks like I had a lot of trouble with this week, and it does look like I don't need, why don't I need an insert? It looks like it says I don't need an insert. So I'm going to look at these and while I'm cutting them up to make sure I've got everything, but I will turn off the camera to cut them up and get them mostly sized correctly, and then I'll turn it back on and then put you on fast forward and do a voiceover. The other thing I do have on my table is the Quiet Story Kit. It's from 2024 and it is by Ali Edwards. And I was watching a video, I think it was from Linda Loves Creating, and I was watching her video and I saw that there was a page in here or a card that matched the design for this month's story kit. So it's this floral design. Maybe I already pulled it out. I don't know. Maybe I did. But I left it out on my table just in case I wanted to pull some pieces. I haven't planned this kit at all. Like, that's really pretty. Yeah, it looks like I've already pulled the card out. So, if I need some pieces to fill in, maybe I'll pull something from this kit as well. But let's see, is there... It's Mayflowers. Yes. See, I've already pulled it out. I couldn't even tell. It's the same pattern. And see, you can see here it says A Quiet Story. And it goes really well. It's the same design with this kit. So because this is the same design, the pink might be a little more dark, but I think it's exactly the same. So that's there. And if I want to pull anything out to tell the story about Sunday, because the power went out Saturday about mid-afternoon, and then Sunday it came back on. And so it really was a quiet 24 hours. And I did tell the story during this week. On the week prior, I did tell the story about just having the storm, but I didn't tell the story. And I think there was a picture in there, but I didn't actually tell the story about I didn't tell the story about the power being out, and it was really quiet. It was super weird. So maybe I will tell that story inside of this week's story. So I'm going to go ahead and put you all on fast forward, turn off the camera to cut these photos up and then come back on and do the voiceover. All right, friends, the cats are behaving today, so hopefully we'll get this voiceover done in one take. So as usual, I start with my plan and I go ahead and sort out the photos and try to put them in their organized slots. With this one, it took a little while for me to figure out which photos were for which day, because I had printed these photos out at least a couple of weeks ago. And as you can see there with my plan, I got frustrated at the end and just decided to, it looks like I just decided to print out some photos and then figure out the inserts later. And I eventually do figure out the inserts later. So the first thing that I knew was correct was definitely I knew Sunday was correct because I went to the theater to listen to the symphony play some music that day. And I also had to empty out some perishables from my refrigerator. I also knew my Tuesday was my steps for my screenshot for my steps, so that one was easy. The additional photos were Artemis, taking a selfie with Artemis, and so I can see that Artemis was on the 9th, so I had made a note of that. And then there were some, Saturday was also easy because I had worked outside that day. Eventually, I realized right here that I've got them in the wrong spot according to my plan because I moved them so they would be right underneath the 4x6 photo, which is a Studio Calico card that's basically just talking about what I'm planting this year. And there's a little bit of things going on with the planting on that Saturday. So I went ahead and put my dahlia bulbs in pots. I think they had just arrived during that week, so that from the mail order where I had gotten them from. And so I wanted to get them into the pots. I had also moved them from the front garden bed to the back deck because I decided to put my plants, my pretty plants, in the back this year because last year someone stole one of my hydrangeas and I was pretty ticked off about it because then I had to dig up a hydrangea because I had bought 2 hydrangeas and I had to dig up the second one and put it in a pot, and then it eventually died because I didn't do it right. So this year I decided just to move the pretty stuff to the back, and it'll give me a reason to actually go outside this year and sit on my back porch because it's screened in, so I won't get murdered by bees. And so I'll be able to look at the dahlias and the other plants and stuff that I plan on purchasing this year. So far, I've got another new hydrangea. I've got a rose bush. I've planted the dahlias. I planted the peony, but I left it in the package for too long and it started trying to grow. So I may have killed it because of just so much things going on all at once. Because after the storm, I realized I had some water issues I had to take care of, and the storm is the same one I'm documenting for this week. But the storm drove ants inside, so I had to deal with the ants as well. I had to tidy some things up. So there was just a whole lot going on. So I had to look at my phone to see which day the Bible verse was from, and it was from Sunday. I share a Bible verse every day on social media, and sometimes I take a screenshot of it as well. And so I happened to like that verse, and so I took a screenshot of it, and apparently I wanted to include it in this week. So their Saturdays and Sundays have a lot of photos usually. And so what I did to make those photos fit and still have room for journaling was, I believe I put them on one 3x4 card so that they would fit and I would have a journaling card there. And with this picture of Rosie, I just had accidentally caught a picture of her. There was some birds on the porch and they were flying around and doing bird-like things. And so she happened to see them and hear them, and she really went immediately into hunter mode. And she's just so stinking cute. So I went ahead and snapped a picture of her real quick. And so with the position of her head looking up at the birds, it looks like she's looking up at the sky. And so when I saw that vellum piece where it says, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," I thought, oh, that's perfect for that. And so I just went ahead and did it, just because it just fits so well. And I just used the regular adhesive with this thicker vellum from Ali Edwards. You can't really see the adhesive through it. Hardly at all. It just doesn't show up. And I think it's just because the vellum is thicker in these kits. And so I like that. And then the next thing I moved on to was trying to figure out what to do with this photo, this half photo. And I thought, oh, maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and add another piece of vellum and just pull that treatment across, because there are several pieces of vellum in this kit that would be useful to do that. I do just move along though, because I haven't made a full decision and I don't totally like what I've done, the idea of what I've done so far. So here I just go ahead and tape down that verse that I cut down so that I have a little more room for embellishment and for making things nicer, or journaling if I want to do that as well. And I just move on to determine, hey, do I want to do anything with my brochure, or I just go ahead and decide to not, eventually I decide to not do anything with that brochure. I look through this quiet kit to see if there's anything that I want to add to these pages. And I don't end up doing that. And I think with the leftovers from this April kit, I might add it to this quiet kit and go ahead and plan a couple of stories with that, since the colors and the floral elements match so well to that quiet kit. I might just go ahead and add those to that kit, because there's a lot left over of this, of these pieces here. And so you see me try and figure out this piece here. I like the floral behind it. I just don't like that so much of the base of the floral is hidden. And I guess I could have tried to just pull it up higher and try and make it work. Maybe cut the pieces and overlap them or something like that. Or maybe even just fussy cut it out and put it on there. And I didn't think of it while I was working on this in the moment. And instead, I just go ahead and move on to looking for some more of the pieces. At this point, I remembered that when I was planning with this kit, I wanted to cut off that top piece and use this color stripe with the kit to make my own journaling cards. I just don't like writing on those colored pieces. I think maybe if I had a thicker point pen, which I don't like to use because they usually get more messy than the narrow point or fine point pens. So I usually don't use them, but a thicker point pen might feel better to me to use that. But instead I go ahead and just cut those colorful pieces off. And then when I put them on here, I put this edge on here. I decided that I didn't like the plain white piece on there. It looked like it was incomplete. So I went and grabbed the packaging And initially I was going to use that pink piece and decided against it. I decided to use some of the floral bits. So it would be white, but it would have some of that floral pattern in the pages, the pockets as well. So I just take some of that and I just put it right on the edge, and then I just cut it out. It's not perfect, but I really don't think it's that big of a deal. It's a little bit messy. And so I do that. I think I do that on 2 cards. And yes, so this one I was thinking, what do I want to do for that edge? Because on the prior week I had cut that out so it had the white border on the edge, and I just left it in a 3x4 size without putting anything along that edge. But on this week, I decided to go ahead and do what I usually do, which is cut it out to the 2.5-inch wide size. And I went ahead and used that for the border on that card. And I think I do it 3 times on this layout with these 2 pages. And here I'm trying to figure out, well, now what do I want to do with the rest of the pieces, and what am I going to do with that what you water grows part that I cut off the top of the color block card. And eventually I go ahead and just make it a 6x4 and decide to make it a header for my journaling for the whole week. Well, now the problem becomes that I don't have another spot for a 4x6 card, and I do want to tell the story about what I'm planting and what I have plans to plant this year on that Studio Calico card. So eventually I have to pull it out of the pocket and go ahead and add a second insert. Even though I keep saying to myself that I have to stop adding the inserts in, because with the inserts, it's making the album fat, and I'm worried that it's not going to fit. So because I think it's not going to fit, I keep telling myself to stop using so many inserts. But even with my simple little life, there is a lot of stories to tell from each week, and maybe eventually I'll figure out a better way to do it, and maybe I won't. So I go ahead and push forward and decide to use this week, the circles that have the words inside the rings. And so I choose a couple of those, and I'm just lining them up so that I don't cut the words themselves in half, although one of the phrases on each circle does get cut in half. And I think that's fine because the general gist of what's going on is still there, and it makes sense because one of the phrases is complete. And so I'm just taking some time to think about what's next. What do I want to include? I do move things around a bunch because that didn't look right to me to have those 2 cards with the vellum pieces. It didn't make sense for them to be top and bottom. I just decided I didn't like it. And I realized that once I cut those 2 cards, those 2 circles in half, I wanted to go ahead and figure out, I wanted to pull those half circles along the whole 2-page layout. And so while I was ruminating on that, I went ahead and decided to just go ahead and stamp my dates on here. And I have been working on a couple of things from other years, so I always have started to make sure that I check the month and the day, because I'm changing those along with the year when I'm working in other projects that I'm trying to finish up as well. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do. it was very hard to figure out what to do. And eventually I go and grab a page protector from scrapbook.com. It's one of their page protectors, and it's just the two 4x6s. And some of the additional photos are, I decide to pull some of those on that I had initially discarded because they didn't fit in the week. It also gives me the opportunity to tell a little bit more of the story of what's going on. So I put on the front page, I put the fairy tale word, the card where she references, where the references for fairy tales, modern day fairy tales. And so I do that because the name of the symphony, I guess the title of the event where we went was Flowers and Fairy Tales. And so I thought this part of the kit made sense because there's lots of flowers. And so there's lots of flowers in the whole spread. And so the fairy tale card also made sense. So I have now on the left side room for another journaling card or another photo if I want to put something there. And then on the right hand side, now I have room for my 4x6 journaling card to journal about what's going on during the week. So here I go ahead and put that card in there, and then I realized, oh, that's not going to make sense because I want to put my other journaling card, and that will be a good option for that. So I'm just testing things out, auditioning things, trying to figure out what do I want to do. And so I pulled out the pieces here. I'm sorting through them that I had put in the pocket page for the next week, so week 3 in April, and then I didn't find anything in that where I wanted to use it, and so I just go ahead and decide to put this gold blooming where you are card. It eventually goes back in the pocket, and I'm still rearranging things. I did happen to like that. But what I decided to do, so my problem was, you can see there, I still haven't made a decision. I do decide to do that, but I decide to cut off an additional piece along the flat edge because I want the flower to still be, I want to see some of the vines or the leaves on the flowers as well. And so the picture that I just put into the pocket along with the Signs of Spring card, I put that photo in the pocket. I think it's from the week following or some other time, but I couldn't find it when I was sorting through my photos. But I believe I intended to put it in the pockets for this week. And if I didn't, it's okay too, because I connected it with that Signs of Spring card because it was just part of my Easter decor. And so I thought, oh, that makes sense. So, because Easter is always in spring. And so I do journal a little bit about it, and it's right there next to the journaling card. And so it does work out eventually, even if it's not from this week. I don't really care. And I do remember why I took the photo is because I was talking to my mom on the phone about finding crosses and where you could find them. And so I got mine at Hobby Lobby. And I think she had said she found one at Walmart that she might want. And so I sent her the picture of mine so that she could see mine as well. And I just decided to move on and go ahead and use the word phrase stickers from the kit. And the first one I go ahead and place says Signs of Spring. And that's just some screenshots of the electric company's website showing which neighborhoods still are out of power and what the status is. On this one, I decided to put a word phrase sticker that says April showers bring May flowers. And then I'm looking around to see which one I'm going to do next. And this one says stories from this season. because that one's mostly about Easter. And that one says Spring Stories. And I went ahead and moved it because it made sense to go on the other one. And I think eventually I decided not to put a sticker on that particular photo. And then the one at the top says All the Feels, and I put it on the picture of Artemis hanging out behind me. And I think that is all the stickers that I placed on this week. I think it's turning out really cute. It's still a pretty simple spread without a lot going on here. I'm just doing my usual, is it arranged right, looking to make sure I haven't missed anything, don't want to move anything around. And I think here's where I decide to move those around so that the left and the right sides mimic. Okay, friends, I've got the pages done. I went ahead and turned the camera off to write my journaling like I usually do. And the only thing I moved was this card on the top right because I didn't like the way it looked. So I went ahead to my stash and grabbed a card from my stash, and then my journaling is mostly on that one 4x6 card there. And then I have my 2 inserts. This is just my tickets and pieces from the brochure they give you, the program, when you go to the theater. And then this is the theater, my photo, and then a little bit of journaling about it. And I chose this card here, if I haven't already said it, because the name of the symphony that we went and saw was Fairies and Flowers. And then this is my list of items that I'm planning on, or that I have planted and that I am in process of planting right now. So if you like hanging out with me today, go ahead and press the like and subscribe button, and it will let the algorithm know that you want to see more videos like this. And I enjoyed hanging out with you today, and I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I'll see you around the internet soon, friends. Bye.